and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm wearing women's underwear.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review a movie that came out in 2011. Now this is an independent film, so it first played, I think, at Fantastic Fest in Austin. And it got quite a good reception there. So much so that the film is now available on DVD. Manborg. Okay, Iain, the synopsis, please.
Well, the story starts off kind of in World War II, where the armies of hell, led by Count Draculon, Count Draculon.
Oh, dear.
Have conquered the earth and are literally laying waste to cities all over the world. Two brothers who are trying to hold the lines against his forces are killed, and one of the brothers is reanimated as Manborg in the future. Manborg then sets out to try and bring down Count Draculon with three other characters.
You want to explain those characters?
We have Justice, who is a Billy Idol lookalike with an Australian accent.
Manborg? More like asshole.
His sister Mina, who seems to be like a weird ninja assassin with blades. And then we have Number One Guy, who is the number one guy in martial arts.
To the death, please.
I almost had an immediate allergic reaction to the start of this film. When it cuts to these two awful actors in this horrible green screen environment with choppy frame rates, poor sound effects.
Get out of here.
No! I'm not leaving you here. Come on.
You're a good team. You're a good brother.
Oh, don't go. Don't go. Don't.
Remember,
Don't go.
it's not about the killing. It's about family.
I was shell shocked. I was like, whoa, what? I mean, I know it's called Manborg and it's got a low budget, but what the fuck is this?
Take this future cassette.
Thanks, man.
No. That's enough. Alright.
It feels like an episode of Robot Chicken, but with live actors. And so I had to go and watch an interview with the director, and he said that the idea behind this film is that it's a film adapted from a graphic novel, which was adapted from a board game, which was adapted from a PlayStation game, which was adapted from trading cards. It was that watered down effect where you just had all these multiple ideas all being thrown into one, which would explain why every single character in this movie feels completely out of place.
What have you brought for me today? Ah, number one man. I see your epic escape was short-lived.
You're the one who's gonna be short-lived.
Oh, yes. You'll be greatly rewarded for your outbursts.
I look forward to it.
It completely feels like a retro 90s video game.
Yeah.
It reminds me of games like Wing Commander, where you have some really campy actors, which we still know today from recent films, and they are in horrible green screen environments, delivering these really cheesy dialogue, but it helped cement you into that universe of the game that you were playing. And it also reminds me of games like Phantasmagoria, especially with the creature effects and some of the monsters, and again with some of the bad acting. And even most recently with Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which sort of emulates that grindhouse feel. So there's a lot of things to bring you into enjoying that sort of vintage nostalgia effect. And Manborg tries valiantly to encapsulate all of those things into a movie with just $1,000 budget.
Damn. for me, I felt this was just an elongated PlayStation 1 cut sequence. Just like you said, at the end of each scene, I expected to play a level. I thought I was going to sit there, have to play through the next level and then get to the next cut sequence. But it never happened. I just had to sit there and watch these actors. Would you consider these people actors?
I would consider them his friends.
Because, like we said, the opening sequence, you just have these 4 or 5 soldiers trying to hold the line, and they're giving this Oscar-winning kind of "we need to defend the world" kind of attitude, and then you've got Count Draculon's forces walking across the lines, just firing lasers and stuff, and then you see Count Draculon, and I'm like, fucking hell, he's the bad guy.
Go to hell. Not yet, but soon I will bring hell to you.
He takes out one of the brothers, and then you see him get put back together again with the worst suit I've ever seen. Even worse than the tank guy from Eliminators.
The Mandroid. More machine than man. His special powers will determine whether or not they survive.
We got robots, we got cavemen, we got kung fu. What is this anyway? Some kind of damn comic book?
That's where I'm going with this one.
Well, you can easily see a lot of inspiration from the movie, and it is just a weird mesh of these characters that are thrown together in this apocalyptic world. And I do like some parts of this film. I like the atmosphere that it creates. Even though it is all fake green screen stuff, I appreciate the effort that they went to make some of these costumes sort of fit in that world. And you can see that a lot of it is just balsa wood and bits of cereal boxes that have just been spray painted. And like one of the biggest offenders though is got to be the Baron. As hilarious as that character is, the mask is awful because when he's talking, his lips don't move, his teeth don't move. It's just a black void, and I'm like, it's so bad. But you laugh at it, and that's the idea behind it. And so if you're laughing at it, you can get behind it.
I tried to find the Baron evil. You know, the Baron works with Dr. Scorpius, and they both work for the future version of Count Draculon, who I couldn't work out if Count Draculon was inside the World Wide Web or if he was in hell and was trying to find a way back through the World Wide. I try not to understand this movie, but the Baron, he tries to he looks evil, you know, with the mask, which is really bad, but then he has these really stupid scenes where he's trying to flirt with Mina, Justice's sister.
Are you comfortable? Can I get you anything? Or
You could get lost.
yes, such a firebrand too.
And he just comes across as like a love-struck puppy.
I've got my own nightmare chamber.
I'd rather be dead.
Indeed, we have so much in common. Be seeing you.
Those scenes are actually quite well written. They are quite funny. The comedic effect really does come through.
Yeah.
Especially with the Baron, because I got really frustrated with the Billy Idol character. I just he was the sort of character that I just wanted to punch because he just irritated me every time he came on screen. And when he's just there and the camera's just quick panning over him and he's just looking at the camera, and I'm like, you know what? I just want to turn the soundtrack to this movie off and just play some really loud music and watch the film in the background. I think that would be one of the best ways to experience this film after about 6 bottles of fucking beer.
He tries to do all the gun kata stuff, and he's just dancing on the screen, and the shots are just going completely wide. But then it's cutting to him just one-shotting things. There's that part where they're riding away on the bikes, and he just puts the gun over his shoulder and shoots that tower. And then you watch the tower slowly fall and take out all the people chasing him. And I'm like, that was really bad, but it made me giggle. My favourite character was number one guy. I loved what they did with him, with the fact that you had an Asian guy playing this martial arts specialist who's speaking English, but then they overdubbed him.
Oh yeah, you like that little guy? What is your problem?
Very good.
So the dubbing is really bad, but it really worked with his character.
He was the one who stood out the most as just being so far removed from this, because he was obviously kind of imitating Liu Kang / Johnny Cage, especially in his attire. And he's like this pure heart who's on a mission. And all of his lines of dialogue they're priceless.
This is terrible.
Spoilers, in case you're planning on watching this. Justice can't read. And it only becomes a focal point in the last, 25 minutes of the film that he can't read. But there's a sequence where him and number one guy are in a bunker, and they're trying to cook pasta.
No, not yet. After we boil the water.
Well, after you boil the water, it says it right there. Small print, as always.
And so number one guy is reading him the instructions on the back. And I'm sat there and I'm like, this is filler. This is a filler sequence for 5 minutes. Two guys trying to cook pasta in a post-apocalyptic world. One of them can't read, and the other one is just overly dubbed.
Let's finish making this delicious meal.
Yeah, right.
And there are several head-to-paw moments in this film, but it's definitely a niche movie that's only going to appeal to so many people, because for the most part, it is offensively awful.
Yeah.
And it's a real grind to get through the whole movie. And it's only an hour long, which I was kind of relieved, because a movie like this, it doesn't always work, because Robot Chicken has that formula where it's only 7 to 15 minutes in length. It's it's in and it's out because it doesn't overstay its welcome. But if you try and watch an hour of Robot Chicken, you have the same effect as what Manborg has, where you just fatigue on that sort of style of humour. And it is overbearing. There's a lot to like in terms of the animation, and I love the throwback to the sort of stop motion creature effects.
Yeah.
They were really cool to look at, even though they were sort of choppy animations. And there's the scene where he picks up Manborg and shakes him around, and it looks awful, but it's there's a lot of creative effort that went into it, especially if you think that this was all put together by just a few people on a zero budget.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to note, actually, that the director of this film is now working on the latest Resident Evil film, doing the creature and monster effects and background effects. Which I'm like, well, it's kind of convenient that you end up working for Paul W.S. Anderson, considering you're paying homage to Mortal Kombat here.
You expect a lot of the scenes to be really funny, but they're not. And then the next sequence that you don't expect to be funny is funny and you laugh. But it happens, I wouldn't even say moderately. It happens maybe 3 or 4 times during the film that you might laugh. I did laugh out loud at a couple of one-liners, a couple of the sequences, like the sequence where they're trying to hide in the hangar bay, and Manborg has put up these blocks to hide behind, and the men are like, where is he? And I'm just like, he's fucking there. He's holding the blocks in place. I suppose my favourite scenes were any of the scenes with number one guy. They were increasingly funny as the film went on. But one of my favourite sequences was where they are driving through the wasteland and Justice starts just chucking out one-liners about the survivors in the wasteland. Why has he got a cabbage on his head?
I think that guy's got cabbage on his head. I might take that cabbage off your head.
Why are they living in a cardboard box? I was just like, I laughed out loud, but that's about it, really.
I liked, as a matter of fact, I really liked all of the Baron scenes. If this was like a 15-minute short of just the Baron, it would have been amazing. It really would have been. I liked the first time that I laughed in the film was after he's taken all of these characters and he's got them all prisoner and he's barking orders at the others, and then once everyone's gone and it's just him there, and then he just coughs. I also like the scene after he's been hitting on the prisoners, and he's convinced himself he's gonna make an effort now to ask her out, and he's got the flowers, and he goes there, and they've already broken out conveniently, and Draculon is questioning him, and he's hiding the flowers behind his back, and I'm like, oh, you poor bastard.
You got there behind your back. Those aren't for me, are they?
The prisoners! They must have utilized these in their escape! I'm gonna go man the artillery gun.
Where the fuck did he get the flowers from? It's a post-apocalyptic world.
Nothing's growing. Artificial? I don't know. I have a lot of trouble with recommending this film because it is only for those of you with the nostalgia of wanting to play these old FMV style video games.
Yeah.
Now the problem is that when you play those video games, there's a level of interaction with it, and those videos are broken up by you using your brain and figuring out puzzles and things.
Yeah.
When you take that element away and you're just watching all of those scenes put together, it doesn't necessarily work.
No.
Manborg for me is the best interpretation of it, and it's great if you've had a few beers and you're playing music in the background. It's the visuals are fantastic to look at, but the substance of the story isn't there. Just like, it's source material, really.
Yeah.
So it's goofy, it's cheesy, and it's fun. It's also lousy, poor, and what the fuck? So there's only so many people that I could recommend it to, because the trailer for the film, if you're thinking about watching it, just watch the trailer, because that tells you everything about what the film is and will leave you smiling afterwards. The film, maybe not so.
Whatever, man. What do you care?
If I'm going to recommend this film, I recommend you get a copy of it, you buy a large crate of beer, and you drink that crate while watching this film. That's probably the only way you're going to enjoy it. I went through 4 large beers while watching this film, and by the end of it, I was really happy that the film was over.
Well, good luck! Where did that come from? Okay. Such an idiot. I'll be in my diamond chamber!
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
I think that guy's got cabbage on his head. I might take that cabbage off your head.